Okay, welcome everyone to the European Parliament here, this EPP Group talk on urban mobility. How do we get from point A to point B easier, faster for our daily lives, for our work? How do we help improve this movement of people, goods, and services across the EU 27? That's what this Cohesion Fund is all about, and that is why we just had this week a talk of the EPP Cohesion Monitoring Group. We had an event there with a European commissioner to discuss that. And right now we're going to talk with Andrey Novakov, MEP of Bulgaria, chair of the EPP Cohesion Monitoring Group. You're also EPP Regional Development Coordinator. Yeah, we'll go into more detail on that. Tomislav, welcome. Tomislav Sokol, MEP from Croatia, also on the Regional Development Committee. The Commissioner, Elisa Ferreira, who was at the event the other day, and you guys were there too, she's Commissioner for Cohesion and Reforms, and she said that urban mobility, urban transport is the lifeblood of a city. And I think that really brought it home to see those different projects. We want to talk a bit about some of the projects that are under development or that have been built. And I guess I'll let you kick that off first, Andrey, because I want to mention that your grandfather, you got a picture of that, built a railroad back in the 1920s.
Well, not by himself, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, right.
Yeah, of course. He worked along with many other people on one of the first railways in Bulgaria, exactly 99 years ago. So always when it comes to developing transport infrastructure is something which is quite close to my heart. And I do understand how it's changed the environment and the whole ecosystem of villages and cities where the railroad or high-speed highway is going. It's not just creating jobs; it's making people lives better. And I keep picture of this.
There he is.
Yeah, that's them.
Which one is he there on the picture?
With the mustache. That's it.
With the mustache.
Yeah. So
charming.
Having this pedigree, it's something which makes you more passionate of having to get the job done.
Yeah, and you've toured some of these projects, haven't you?
We visited some of those projects, and I'm happy that Commissioner Ferreira supported us with this event in order to raise the awareness and to be clear what is actually the union is doing for even a bicycle paths in Germany or electrification of small municipal trucks in Austria, or building a huge bridge in Croatia or railway in Slovakia. So this is all the scope of the EU funds. It's helping in many different ways.
And it's the funds, it's huge. We're talking the Trans-European Transport Network, TEN-T, is a 25 billion euro budget developing Europe-wide network of railway lines, roads, inland waterways, maritime shipping routes, ports, airports, railroad terminals, and it's part of the bigger picture of cohesion, that cohesion fund of 62 billion, if I get that right, that goes to all this. So it's a lot, and like you said, it's small projects, bike paths, and then it's mega projects like your bridge in Croatia. Tell us about that, Andrey.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Tomislav. Thank you very much. Yes, the purpose of cohesion policy is to make less developed parts of Europe catch up with the more developed ones. And one of the basic things that we have to improve in these less developed regions is the infrastructure. And transport infrastructure like railways, motorways, etc., are crucial. Not to mention the fact that we had the Iron Curtain up until 30 years ago, which was also creating this divide in terms of transport, motorways, railways, so all of this transport infrastructure, which was not continued from one part to the other. And this is where we are lagging behind. We have to really catch up.
So show us this picture. We got some good show and tell here.
Okay.
Look at that. It's a beautiful bridge connecting Dubrovnik with
Yes, with the rest of mainland Croatia. So,
Yeah.
so Dubrovnik, I think most of the viewers already heard of that. It's a medieval famous city, a big important tourist city.
Massive tourist
Croatia.
magnet, right?
Yeah, but it has been divided by the territory of other countries from the mainland Croatia for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, there is an interesting historical story behind this. So during Middle Ages and 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, also after that, Dubrovnik was an independent republic whose main competitor was Republic of Venice. And since Dubrovnik was afraid that Venice will attack them, they gave this strip of land from their territory to the Ottoman Empire, so that the Ottoman Empire comes in between them and Venice, and so that Venice cannot directly attack Dubrovnik from the coast. And this is the reason why this small strip of land was given over to the Ottoman Empire. And after that, after Ottoman Empire was kicked out of this part of Europe, it became part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and remained that ever since. And because of that, if you wanted to go from mainland Croatia and other parts of European Union to Dubrovnik, you would have to go to pass the border 2 times, external European border, external border of the European Union, 2 times. To leave Croatia and enter Bosnia, then to leave Bosnia and enter Croatia again if you wanted to get to Dubrovnik.
Yeah.
And this was an enormous problem, especially during summer.
It slowed down traffic.
When you had so you had all of these traffic jams because you had so many tourists wanted to come to Dubrovnik, but they had to wait on the border for 3, 4, or 5 hours.
Yeah.
On 40% during scorching heat with 40 degrees Celsius, and this was a big problem.
Yeah.
So this bridge, which was co-financed by 357 million euros from the European Union Cohesion Policy Funds. It is 2.4 kilometers long, so it was built to bypass Bosnian territory so that we have uninterrupted land connection between Dubrovnik and the rest of the European Union.
Let's continue with a few other projects while we still got time. Andrey? A few more. Yeah.
The beauty of cohesion policy, it's exactly mixturing enormous projects like this one that Tomislav is talking about, which is changing the geography of the whole continent in the Union. I could not imagine what is the effect of daily life of the people who are living on the both sides of the bridge. But I can clearly imagine what is it to live in, let's say, in Vratsa, a city in Bulgaria, where public transport looks like this. It's a Soviet-era electric buses, which are so old and uncomfortable to be used. And because of the European Union, you could have this.
Much nicer.
I don't have the numbers, but I am pretty sure that those who choose to use the new buses instead of riding a car and driving a car and polluting the city and congesting the streets are much less.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that we can see that change all around Europe.
Now, you visited some of these different projects. Maybe stop me when I go down the list and tell me what one thing that jumps out at you. But I'm looking at all over Europe. Austria, this electromobility and cycling. Italy, road to rail. Poland, Lublin buses again. Portugal, park and shuttle. Germany, bike path, electrification of municipal trucks, and on and on. Slovakia, railroad between Bratislava and Žilina. The Croatian bridge. Romania, the electric public transport. On and on and on. All these projects are helping to knit together better the EU, this single market, right?
You know, the job of the local authorities and the Commission in that case was done. So now it's turn the politicians, who are elected by those people to make it visible and explain.
Right.
Because if that was built by, let's say it was built in China or whatever, it would be so commercialized and used for political purposes. And here, Euroscepticism is rising, and we are shy to say that without this, I'm sure that neither the bridge or the buses in Vratsa would be reality.
Yeah.
And,
And this affects personal lives.
And this is changing the quality of the life of so many people.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it just makes your life better and more comfortable, like you have with the bus. But when you change the geography of the continent, then you can avoid conflict. You actually changing the history in the right way.
Can we look ahead? What's the future? What are some other projects, or what are your plans now?
Cohesion Monitoring Group will do the following for the next year. We have several invitations to be in northern Greece and in Romania, in several cities, just to visit and raise the awareness of what the Union has been achieved in those places, especially in the post-Soviet era. The contrast is amazing, unbelievable. So I hope that will help all those who are still not decided to participate or not in European elections to know that there is no alternative.
Yeah, it's nice as it comes before European elections in
Exactly.
2024.
24, May 2024.
That's not too far off. Tomislav, let's see that. Hold up that other picture, which is a little bit closer up, and let's talk a little bit about the fact that you needed this especially because of Schengen, right?
Yeah, that's precisely it. So since Croatia was in the process of entering Schengen, we had to fulfill very strict criteria. I'm sorry that Bulgaria and Romania are still not there, but because of only political decision, because they also fulfilled the criteria. But
right. It's a matter of time.
Yes, I think it's definitely a matter of time, and we support them fully. But yeah, so during this whole process of entering Schengen, this was one of the big challenges, big problems, that you have one part of European Union without a land connection with the other parts of the European Union, having to go through territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina, where there is a lot of political instability, unfortunately, and I think this was the best way to remedy this, to build this bridge, so that you can go without interruption from one part of the European Union to the other.
Any other projects in Croatia that to mention?
There are really many projects in Croatia. I would just like to mention that 80% of public investments in Croatia is funded from EU funds. So without EU funding, Croatia would be stagnating, and this is something that also needs to be mentioned, because a lot of people take this for granted. I think this is something normal, but without European Union, this would never have taken place. So Croatia gets annually 1 billion euros more from EU budget than it pays into it. So this is like this is an added value from EU budget, which is invested into infrastructure. But not just transport infrastructure, into hospitals, for instance, schools, into different things. Also, EU funding from European Social Fund is invested into human capital, for instance. So it is used, for instance, to fund specializations for medical doctors, for nurses, etc., because we have a big deficit of healthcare professionals there. Right. So we really have a lot. Also, equipping hospitals, for instance. All of this is funded from EU budget. Also different scientific projects, equipping our universities with high-tech equipment, so we can do very modern projects. So all of this would not have been possible without European Union cohesion policy.
And that's important to show especially to a country the latest to join the EU, the payoff to that, and what you will see on January 1st, joining Schengen, joining the euro. And benefiting from these policies and funding, right?
Yeah, and if I may add, if you look at the countries who joined the EU, those who had more time, so who joined the European Union before Croatia, actually caught up more. So the differences between them and the most developed parts of the EU have become much smaller than before. So if you look at the former communist countries from the Central and Eastern Europe, who were like on 50% of the EU average in terms of GDP per capita. Now they are at 70%, 80%, etc. So this cohesion policy, in terms of reducing differences between different parts of the EU, is really working. So these differences are getting smaller. We are converging, and less developed regions are becoming more similar to the most developed ones.
Andrey, final word before we wrap this up.
I hope that with this podcast we contribute to help people understand better what the union is doing for them. And although probably the communication part is not the best that the union can do, the facts are facts, and the projects are there serving every day for them.
Great. Andrey, Tomislav, thank you very much. Thanks to all of you watching as well. Keep in mind, at EPP Group, if you want to transmit this further on the social networks, and more information on eppgroup.eu. I'm Chris Burns. Thanks very much. See you next time.